Examining IBM Lotus nodes on IBM Lotus Domino security. In this chapter, we're going to identify the components of Lotus Domino security implementation, design a hierarchical naming scheme, locate and view certifiers, determine how Lotus Domino security mechanisms control server access levels and access to other resources, determine database access levels, and determine the workstation security levels. Organization. An organization defines a naming hierarchy for a Lotus Domino environment, which is used for security purpose. The organization name can be the same as the domain name or another name such as a shortened version of the company name. In most companies, it will set up one organization and one domain. However, a company may create multiple organizations to separate different departments or divisions for security or administration purpose. If you see an example in the screen, we have an image here. For example, we have created for classroom purpose, the organizations called WW Corp. In these organizations, we have divided into three parts that is called organization unit. The organization unit 1, and we have a east, and we have a west, and we have a south server. So under this organization unit, you can again divide these resources, how many clients you have, how many users you have for each and every organization unit. This is a benefit of your organization hierarchy, where you can manage your resources and users under your organization by creating hierarchical naming scheme. Organization unit generally defines an organization hierarchy as it relates to people. Organization units are the next level down from the organization and usually represents geographical or departmental names. The figure here, we have taken an example here. This is the two organization unit we have under the organizations called WW Corp. So we have divided the organization unit as per the regional wise. Organization certifiers. The Lotus Domino organization certifiers is a special file created at the time of the first Domino server is set up in the company. It is the top of the hierarchy and is used to certify the resources in the entire infrastructure. Administrator can use the organization certifier to register other certifiers, which is in turn can be used to register users, servers, and other certifiers. Hierarchical naming scheme. Hierarchical naming scheme is used to guarantee the unique user and server names across a large network. We have different components in the hierarchical naming scheme. The components are common name. The common name, this is a personal full given name like a first name, last name, or middle name, or it might be a server name. The maximum characters accepted here 80. And it is required as it's a mandatory field. Organization unit name, we call it OU. It's typically a department or a location name, and maximum up to 32 characters are accepted, and it is not in a mandatory field. Organization name, typically a company name, 3 to 64 characters are accepted in this field. It is a mandatory field. And the country is ISO standard 2-letter abbreviations for the country and the top level location. The maximum characters are allowed for 2 characters and it is not a required field. Hierarchical naming example. 2 users with the same name, Marcus Frank, work for a worldwide corporation. One works in the sales organization in the East Regional Office. The other is a member of the Human Resource Department in the West Regional Office. In this figure, you can see this is how the hierarchical naming scheme is built for the WW corporations for the classroom purpose, which we created here. This is a main organization name, we call its O name, and we have divided 3 OUs here, East, West, and this is a sales regional office, and under East again we have divided multiple departments like sales, marketing, and services. Then we have registered users and this department. So we have taken 2 variety of departments here and different regions here, and this is how the people name will be displayed after registration successful of the user in particular OU. if you take this www corp and we have created a OU called West. Under West we have created again another OU called HR. The HR, then we started creating users under this OU. Once you've done the creation of the user full name will be displayed like the first name and space last name and slash HR, where he belongs to the department, where he belongs to the location, and where he belongs to the organization. This is how the hierarchical naming scheme will be built. Organization unit naming recommendation. The location. Each local has a separate OU for local administrator of servers and users. Use this as an alternative for using the country code names component. The site or the country abbreviation easily identify the geographic location of the server or a user. Then departments. We can create an organization unit as a location or department or the work groups. Each department has a separate OU which keeps the Lotus Domino naming scheme directly in sync with the corporate organization chart. The work groups most often used to distinction two users with the same name who work in the same department. The naming recommendations are: use short descriptive names, do not include any spaces in OUs while you creating, and create a separate OU for servers for administrative control, and use 3 or fewer levels of OUs in the hierarchical naming scheme. Separate server OUs. We have two different OUs in an example. Then how we can communicate with these two different OUs? We have two different things: cross certification, administration control. The cross certification benefits, like if two organizations wanted servers to be cross certified but did not want users to be cross certified, then having each organization server in a separate OU would allow the creation of server OU to server OU cross certification. Since the cross certification would be server OU to server OU, no end user from either organization would be allowed to directly access the server in other organizations. However, the servers would be allowed to authenticate and replicate with each other. Then administration control. If organization decide to use a unique OU for server registration and that OU is tightly controlled by an upper level administrator, the likelihood of having a regime of authorized server show up is reduced. Any server registered within a different OU will be readily apparent to administration through various views of Lotus Domino administrator. Then server naming recommendation. The server common name should be a short and descriptive names, contains an abbreviation for the region where it resides, not contain any spaces, be easily expandable, be easily recognizable for the task for the server performance. For example, hub servers in the east might be named as follow, like East Hub 01, East Hub 02 and 03 and so on. Mail servers in the west might be named as a West Mail 01, 02, 03 and so on. Server host names and common names. The server common name can be a server fully qualified internet host name. Consider like use the internet host name in the Lotus Domino server common name if client accessing the servers are on the internet or on the large distributed TCP/IP intranet or in a foreign Lotus Domino domains on TCP/IP internet, and server address sharing between the domains is not practical. Use the simple Lotus Domino server common name if clients accessing servers are primarily in the same Domino domain or in a Domino that will share server address information with the domain. Rely heavily on the network protocols or other than TCP/IP require a special server naming convention better suited to the company. User naming recommendation. User common name is typically the user first name and last name. User's common name is used for the internal mail addressing and determines the user internet address. Lotus Domino includes an administrative tool to change the user's common name or the user's place in the hierarchy. If a user material status changes, so the name can be changed. If a user moves from one department to another department, we can go ahead and change the user's name after registration of the user. Planning and hierarchical naming scheme. To plan a hierarchical naming scheme, you have to consider organization name, which should be a short and easy name. Many organizations choose to use their internet domain or company name. Organization units should have provided an easy and simple method to organize the servers and users' names. Multiple organization levels may be more difficult to manage. Can be used for providing a Unix names. A strategy for distinctions in identical names in the same organization hierarchy should be determined during the planning stage. How to design a hierarchical naming scheme? To design a hierarchical naming scheme, choose a domino domain name, choose an organization name, decide whether or use a country codes, determine organization units based on the company's structure. You have to determine the server naming convention and user naming convention.